Many of the people on the ground might not have known exactly what the mountain was. You can actually see layers within it that show me, as a volcanologist, that there was current, there was turbulent currents depositing this material.
At the moment, one of the planet's most dangerous volcanoes is gathering strength behind the scenes. Mount Vesuvius, Europe's most feared volcano, the mountain that once wiped an entire city from the map, has slipped into its longest period of quiet in centuries. And that calm is making scientists worried, with tremors, rising heat, and shifting gas levels all pointing to one truth. Europe's sleeping giant is stretching awake, and the countdown may have already begun. Current situation of Mount Vesuvius. Vesuvius sits in a strange phase where nothing dramatic happens on the surface. Yet scientists see enough internal activity to stay worried. Small tremors, slight heat shifts, and underground signals hint that the volcano is not as quiet as it appears. What complicates things is the world that now surrounds it. Millions of people, crowded transport routes, airports, and homes built right up to its reach. Imagine a giant beast taking a nap. It looks peaceful, lying there under the bright Italian sun. That is exactly what Mount Vesuvius looks like today. For tourists visiting the beautiful Bay of Naples, the mountain is just a backdrop, green, rounded, and calm. People live right on its slopes, taking photos, acting as if nothing bad could ever happen. But that calm appearance is a big, dangerous lie. Don't let the beauty fool you. This volcano is one of the most feared in all of human history, famous for wiping out the city of Pompeii in a single afternoon decades ago. Now, it has entered a period of silence. This is the most silent the mountain has been in nearly 500 years. If a volcano like Vesuvius is quiet for this long, scientists get extremely worried. Why? Because with Vesuvius, silence does not mean safety. Silence means pressure is building. It's like holding your breath for 5 centuries. Think of the volcano as a giant pressure cooker. Since its last eruption, the lid has been sealed tight. No big explosions, no major gas coming out, no rivers of lava, nothing. But deep, deep down inside the mountain, things are changing. Scientists use very sensitive tools to listen to the whispers of the earth. These tools detect tiny, tiny earthquakes, which they call microquakes. These are signs that the rock inside the cone is cracking and shifting. Other sensors measure ground tilt, picking up hints that the whole mountain is beginning to swell. Just a little bit, like a giant taking a deep breath. Even the temperature of the volcano changes from year to year. These are not random movements. They are the first clues that the magma below is slowly reorganizing itself. Here is the most worrying part. Scientists know from studying volcanoes all over the world that a long, silent sleep often comes right before the biggest, most destructive eruptions. During this quiet time, the molten rock, the magma, deep inside the mountain starts to cool down. As it cools, it gets thick and sticky. This sticky magma is a problem because it traps the gas. If the gas cannot escape easily, the pressure builds up even more. The longer it lasts, the more gas is trapped, turning the magma into an increasingly fearful mixture. This is geology at its most terrifying. Imagine a bottle of soda. If you shake it just a little, a small bit of foam might come out. But if you seal it tightly and shake it for a long, long time, the pressure builds up incredibly. When you finally open it, it does not just gently fizz. It opens up in a huge blast. Vesuvius is doing this on a large scale. The longer it is sealed and quiet, the bigger and more troublesome the next eruption is likely to be. Every quiet day is just more fuel for the eventual fire. To make matters worse, Vesuvius is not the only problem in this area. Just to the west is another massive volcanic area called Campi Flegrei. This place is not a single mountain, but a huge, wide depression called a caldera. It is capable of what scientists call super eruptions, meaning truly massive blasts. Lately, this area has been extremely restless. In the years 2024 and 2025, there were many earthquake swarms. Buildings cracked, and some streets even lifted up, showing ground swelling faster than in any recorded history. Why does this matter for Vesuvius? Because Vesuvius and Campi Flegrei share the same deep plumbing system for their magma. Think of it like two balloons connected by a tube. If you squeeze one balloon, the pressure instantly goes up in the other one. Since both volcanoes are showing signs of unrest at the same time, scientists are extremely on edge. It's a double threat. It is a dual threat, and the long quiet period of Vesuvius could be ending very soon, resulting in a disastrous explosion of pressure. The clock may already be ticking on this peaceful-looking mountain, and 3 million people live within reach. The mountain's silence is truly the loudest warning of all. And when people talk about Mount Vesuvius, one tragic event always comes up: the eruption in the year 79 AD that destroyed Pompeii. The ancient terror in a modern megacity. This story is one that everyone knows. Ash falling so thick it turned daylight into night, as described by a writer named Pliny the Younger. But what most people forget is how the cities were destroyed, and that this mountain has ended the lives of many people since. History did not end in 79 AD. Most people picture slow, red rivers of lava covering the city. But that is the wrong volcano. That is what you see in places like Hawaii. Vesuvius destroys with something far faster and more terrifying: pyroclastic surges. Try to picture a hurricane that is not made of wind and rain, but of ash and poisonous gas. This mixture is not just hot, it is burning, reaching 300 degrees Celsius. And it does not travel slowly. It races down the slope at speeds over 100 miles per hour. No one can outrun a pyroclastic surge. No one survives it. Pompeii, Herculaneum, and Stabiae, entire Roman cities, were wiped out in just a few hours. Thousands of people were lost before they even realized what was truly happening, instantly covered by this boiling, toxic cloud. This is the weapon Vesuvius uses, and it is a weapon of mass, instant destruction. Unfortunately, Vesuvius is a repeat offender. It has erupted many times throughout history, each time leaving destruction behind. In 472 AD, the ash was so strong it traveled all the way to Turkey. In 1631, thousands of people were lost in minutes as the surges tore through villages. In 1906, the city of Naples had to be evacuated. And in 1944, the most recent eruption, it destroyed homes and even melted aircraft sitting on a nearby airfield. For centuries, the mountain would erupt every few decades, keeping the pressure low. But the mountain has stopped this regular rhythm. Now, it has had its longest silent period in decades, and this is the danger. The next eruption will not be hitting an ancient Roman city. It will strike the heart of the modern world. More than 3 million people live within easy reach of this volcano today. Entire modern cities, with hospitals, schools, and apartment buildings, sit directly on the evacuation maps. In 1944, when the mountain last erupted, the world was very different. No satellites were watching from space, no high-speed travel for quick escapes, and no massive megacities built right up against its sides. Now, the area surrounding Vesuvius is one of the most densely populated places in Europe. If Vesuvius awakens today, the number of people in danger would be far, far greater than anything seen in the ancient Roman world. The outcome could be devastating. Though we have more technology, the mountain has more pressure. This is the ancient terror ready to strike modern civilization, and the possibility of a far greater tragedy is very real. Vesuvius is a beautiful mountain, but we must remember its ancient and troublesome past. A volcano inside a volcano. The explosive structure. Vesuvius is not a simple mountain. It is actually two volcanoes stacked together, which creates a structure that screams instability and danger. To understand this, we need to look deep beneath Italy. Vesuvius sits on one of Earth's most troubled geological points. Down below, the African tectonic plate, a giant B of the Earth's crust, is slowly but surely diving beneath the Eurasian plate. This massive, grinding collision creates intense heat and pressure deep within the Earth's mantle. This heat melts the rock down below, turning it into magma, the liquid fire that fuels the volcano. But this is not just any magma. The type of rock and the way it is formed here result in magma that is thick, viscous, and filled with gas. This is a critical difference. For other volcanoes, the magma is runny and watery, allowing gas to escape easily, resulting in relatively gentle lava flows. Vesuvius is the opposite. Its magma is so sticky that it acts like a plug. It traps all the gas trying to escape. Imagine trying to stir thick, sticky honey. The gas gets caught inside the molten rock, and the pressure starts to climb higher and higher. It keeps building until it is impossible to contain. When Vesuvius erupts, it does not gently ooze. It detonates. It explodes with a pressure few other volcanoes can match, because it is using trapped gas as its fuel for the blast. And trapped gas is a terrible thing. Now, let us look at the structure on the surface. The entire mountain complex is actually made up of two distinct parts. The older volcano created a massive outer ring, known as the Monte Somma caldera. A caldera is a large basin or crater, formed when the top of a volcano collapses inward after a huge eruption. This caldera is huge and forms a kind of broken ring around the newer cone. This ring is a permanent scar from a massive explosion thousands of years ago. Inside this massive ancient ring sits the younger, more dangerous cone, the one that we see today, and the one that erupted in 79 AD. This creates a terrifying structure, a volcano inside a volcano. It is like having a pressure chamber, the new cone, sitting right inside an even bigger pressure chamber, the old caldera. Everything about this double structure makes the entire system prone to massive blasts. The deep pressure from the tectonic plates is creating the explosive magma. The sticky nature of that magma traps all the explosive gas. And the geological structure, the cone inside the caldera, is a perfect design for maximizing the power of the explosion. This explains why Vesuvius is so much more feared than many other volcanoes. People imagine the beauty of the mountain, but they forget the mountain's appearance is fundamentally deceiving. It is a monument to instability and explosive force, waiting for the moment when the internal pressure becomes absolutely impossible to hold back any longer. We must respect its complex, destructive nature. The unthinkable evacuation, troubles in the red zone. If Vesuvius erupts today, the biggest immediate challenge will not be the ash or the gas, but the simple, impossible problem of moving millions of people to safety. Italy does have an evacuation plan, which, in theory, is very detailed. Once scientists detect clear signs that the magma is rising quickly, the critical moment, the government is supposed to trigger a 72-hour evacuation of the high-risk area, known as the red zone. The red zone is huge, covering many cities and villages that sit directly on the volcano's flanks. Over 600,000 people live here, right in the path of the most fearful pyroclastic flows. The plan involves using buses and other transportation to move these hundreds of thousands of people to safer regions of Italy, far away. From the coast, it sounds good on paper, a carefully managed operation. But scientists and civil protection officials know this is the single most terrifying part of the whole Vesuvius scenario. Naples, the major city next to the volcano, is an ancient, beautiful place, but it is a nightmare for a fast mass evacuation. It is a maze of very narrow roads, ancient alleyways, and coastal bottlenecks. Traffic in Naples is almost always jammed on a normal day. Now, imagine trying to move 600,000 people out of this area, all at the same time, when panic has set in. This will be a big rush. Think about the conditions during an eruption. People will be trying to flee with ash already starting to fall, darkening the sky. Earthquakes will be shaking buildings, causing alarm and fear. What normally takes minutes to drive could take hours, turning the main escape routes into locked parking lots. Evacuating even a small suburb takes hours. Evacuating 600,000 people under these high-stress conditions would be nearly impossible. This is the reality that officials are worried to discuss openly. There is no world where this evacuation goes smoothly. Panic is the true enemy. The only way the evacuation could succeed is if the scientists get very early and very clear warning signs. They need to know for sure that the eruption is days away, not just hours. But Vesuvius is not known for being generous with time. The volcano has a history of being unpredictable. Sometimes the magma will move and cause tremors, leading to a false alarm, and then it stops before reaching the surface. Other times, the eruption has happened with only a few hours of warning. It is unstable and capable of changing its behavior in just minutes. This unpredictability is what makes the situation so dangerous. The Vesuvius Observatory has one of the most advanced monitoring networks on the planet. Seismometers record every tiny tremor. GPS stations track every millimeter of ground movement, showing any swelling. Gas sensors analyze every puff of sulfur gas. Satellites scan the entire region from space. Even with all this high-tech help, no one can predict the exact timing. They can only say that the probability is low, but the potential destruction is immense. The final scenario everyone fears the most is a sudden, powerful eruption with very little warning, just like what happened to Pompeii. In that case, the pyroclastic flows would rip through the red zone in minutes, before any evacuation could even start. Therefore, the long-term solution lies in moving people out of the danger zone permanently, because relying on a 72-hour escape window when facing an unpredictable giant is a terrible, terrifying risk for so many lives. But there's really so much more beyond the blast. The global fallout, beyond the immediate blast. When Vesuvius erupts, the danger is not contained to the 600,000 people in the immediate red zone. The free consequences of a major eruption would quickly ripple outward, impacting the large city of Naples, the entire country of Italy, and eventually, the economies and travel systems of Europe and the entire world. This isn't just a local problem. The first immediate danger is the destruction of property and life near the mountain. As discussed, the pyroclastic flows can travel 10 to 15 kilometers in just a few minutes, destroying everything they touch and erasing villages from the map. But just beyond the path of the flows is the huge metropolitan area of Naples itself. Naples would be hit by immense ashfall. Vesuvius could punch an ash column many miles high into the atmosphere, much higher than Mount Everest. This ash is heavy and quickly settles on the ground. A heavy layer of ash could cause roofs to collapse, especially older ones across the whole city. The air would be severely contaminated. Water supplies could be poisoned by the acidic ash, and electrical power outages would quickly go across the entire region due to damaged infrastructure. The city would be brought to a complete, disastrous standstill. The disruption would not stop there. The modern world relies heavily on air travel, and a Vesuvius eruption is a disaster for airplanes. Airlines would immediately ground flights across the Mediterranean. Air traffic control would be forced to shut down airports across Europe, possibly including major hubs like Rome and beyond, due to the danger of volcanic ash destroying jet engines. The eruption of a much smaller volcano in Iceland years ago caused days of chaos for air travel across all of Europe. Vesuvius is much, much larger and much more powerful. Economically, the impact would be massive and immediate. Tourism, which is central to the Naples region and all of Italy, would collapse overnight. People would not travel to a volcanic disaster zone, leading to huge financial losses. The region is home to some of the world's most priceless and irreplaceable archaeological sites, Pompeii, Herculaneum, and others. These sites, already fragile, could be buried again or damaged beyond repair by new ashfalls and earthquakes. This would be a permanent loss to world history and culture. On a larger scale, the atmospheric effects could be felt globally. While not a massive climate changer like a true super eruption, The particles of ash and sulfur dioxide gas injected miles high could scatter solar radiation. This is not just speculation. Vesuvius has done all of this before in its history. Scientists today have new tools, like high-resolution radar satellites, and are using artificial intelligence to analyze seismic data. These technologies can help detect the early warning signs much better than in the past. But technology can only buy time. It cannot stop the explosion. The true risk is how our modern, interconnected society would handle this disaster. If the next eruption is small, Naples might survive with only moderate damage. But if it is large, as its long silence suggests it might be, the region could face one of the worst natural disasters in modern European history. The final lesson of Vesuvius is that nature does not care about our cities, our borders, or our time schedules. The longer the quiet lasts, the more troublesome the next chapter is sure to be. Experts agree that Vesuvius will erupt again, though the scale and timing remain unknown. This tension shapes how each person thinks about risk and belonging in a place known for beauty and danger.